Okay, welcome everyone to the Step2Skills Industry Insight webinar. Today our focus is on childcare and education and jobs in those arenas. So we have a number of speakers with us today to talk about the options that are available to you and how you can make those next steps in your career in childcare and education. Our first speaker was going to be Charlotte Marsden, who is the Early Years Development lead for Hertfordshire County Council. Unfortunately, she can't be with us today, but she has sent her slides to me, so I will briefly whiz through those and they will come out to you after the event as well. If you have any questions throughout the presentation today, please just pop them in the chat and hopefully we'll be able to answer those for you. I just check, could someone just give me a thumbs up that they can see those slides? Thank you. Charlotte is, like I say, the Early Years Development Officer at Hertfordshire County Council, and she is responsible for helping people become childminders. So if that's something you're interested in, her contact details are here, and I'll just whiz through the requirements for you. And if you have any further questions, she can obviously help with that. So childminders, obviously, there's two types of kind of childcare. You know, you can have childcare in a nursery setting. You can have childminders who are home-based, and you can have nannies who predominantly work in the child's home. So a childminder would work in their own home and would look after children, and they may have other childminders or assistants that help them. So in order to register as a childminder, you have to have the right to work in the UK. You have to be physically capable of caring for children, and you have to have completed an enhanced DBS application or check, which is a criminal records check. And that is for you and anyone over 16 who lives or works on the same premises that you would be childminding. You cannot register if you've been convicted of a serious offence or barred from working with children. You cannot register if your own children have ever been taken into care. You cannot try and register again if you have been refused registration before. And you can't register if you live with someone who is disqualified from registering. So therefore, someone who maybe has tried before, has been disqualified, someone who has a serious conviction. Lots of things that are needed, lots of paperwork, obviously, first aid certificates, safeguarding certificates, references from people who would say that you are suitable for the role, an understanding and knowledge of the early years framework, and there is other training around that. And you would need a full employment history, so they would be able to check what you have done previously. There are costs related to this, and you can see all of those costs on this slide. Our next speakers will talk to you about a skills boot camp that allows people to become registered childminders. And if I'm correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Emily or Farah, these costs, I believe, are wrapped up in the funding for the boot camp. Is that right? So if someone was to do the boot camp, then these things would be covered within that boot camp. Is that right?
Yes, Sarah, the majority is covered, and okay. we'll make sure Farah goes through that, what isn't covered. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Usually takes around 12 weeks to register, and allows you should allow time for any courses you need to do before you start that registration process. The early years foundation stage is basically a set of government requirements that all providers must meet when they are looking after children up to the age of 5, making sure that they are getting appropriate learning and development, and making sure that you're covering any safeguarding, child protection rules or health and safety. You would need to demonstrate to an inspector that you understand and that you can implement these requirements, but training is not a legal requirement for early years childminders as of January of this year. So you don't have to have had the training. It's not a legal requirement, but you need to understand this framework. Again, links on how you can apply for your Ofsted registration, etc., all on these slides. How many children can you care for as a childminder? So you can have 3 children up to the age of 5 in your care. Normally no more than 1 child under 12 months. You can make exceptions to the ratios. So for example, if I think it's siblings, if there are siblings, or if you look after children, but you only look after them before school and after school, then there are exceptions around that. As a self-employed childminder, you obviously set your own hours. If you decided that you just wanted to be a childminder that did school, looked after children before school and after school, and only looked after school-age children, and you had the day to yourself, you could absolutely do that. If you decided you didn't want to work in school holidays, again, you could absolutely do that. You're self-employed. You can fit your hours around your own family life. In terms of how much you would earn, most childminders charge between £5 and £9 an hour, and you can register to receive funding so that parents can pay through their government funding for childcare. You would need to register as self-employed, and Hertfordshire County Council can help with this as well. I won't go into too much detail on this because I'm not entirely sure about childcare support. Lots of links here in terms of once you are registered, and support and help once you are registered as a childminder. Lots of useful links. So again, I will send these slides out at the end of the webinar, but if you have any questions around becoming a childminder and the kind of legalities and registration around that, then Charlotte, I'm sure, would be happy to help, or someone from the early years service team, and their email address is there for you as well. So I will now pass to Emily and Farah once I've stopped sharing. Oh, I'm sharing again. No, I'm not. Who will talk to us about a childminding boot camp that is being run at Oaklands College. So thank you very much.
Hi everyone, so my name is Farah. I'm the Employee Engagement Executive for the Skills Bootcamps, and on call today, Emily has joined me. She's the project manager for Skills Bootcamps. So if you have any questions regarding the Skills Bootcamps or want to discuss it further, reach out to one of us and we would be able to support you and give you extra additional information. So the Skills Bootcamp, if it works. So Oaklands College, for whoever doesn't know about Oaklands College, we're based in St Albans, and we have 3 different campuses. One's in St Albans, one's in Welwyn Garden City, and the third one's in Borehamwood. It is a large campus. We've got a farm and a zoo on our St Albans campus. But as you may know, that we obviously are a college, so we have a large number of 16 to 19-year-old, but we're expanding and trying to incorporate adult learning into our curriculum too. So we've got various different skills bootcamps running, which I'm going to speak to you about and tell you exactly what skills bootcamps are. So what is a skills bootcamp and how can we support you? So the course is basically a course that is up to 16 weeks long. So it's a minimum of 16 weeks, and it supports individuals to get the skills they need to either become self-employed or progress onto a different career path, etc. Obviously, the one that we're going to speak to you about is the childminding one, and how we could support you in becoming a childminder, a self-employed childminder, and the funding that's provided. So it won't cost you anything. So we will support you in the registration process. We'll get you registered as a childminder on the government website. We'll support you with Ofsted. We'll give you all the right information that's needed as to how you could become a self-employed childminder. So it will all be covered within the curriculum. We are working with the Hertfordshire County Council, and this will be a accredited qualification, and we will also support you in gaining your DBS, which you would be required to start up your own business. Some of the modules that are included are entry into early years. For childminders, we offer a first aid, Ofsted registration process, food safety, business startup, and then employability skills too. The course runs its maximum 2 evenings a week, and you will have 2 Saturdays within the 12 weeks course. And like I said, this is a free course to yourself, so you're not having to pay for anything, even the registration and all the DBS, etc. We cover all the costs. So is this the right pathway for yourself? So the ideal candidate that we're looking for is someone who is looking to start up their own childminding business. So we do need you to be, we do want you to be able to go self-employed and are happy to register as self-employed. And also you will be, as part of this skills bootcamp, we need you to create a business plan, and we support you with creating the business plan. So that is another, so we will need you to be able to create a business plan with our tutors. So the next course that we've got for the skills bootcamps is the 15th of January. If you're not available to start on the 15th, we have got additional courses coming up in the near future. So there will be more dates coming up. So the eligibility criteria for the skills bootcamps, you have to be 19 years and over. This is only for Hertfordshire-based residents. Looking at registering as self-employed, have the right to work in the UK, and all adults, including yourself, over 16 need to go through a DBS check. So we need you all to be able to go through a DBS check and also pass the DBS. So in regards to the next step, if you are interested and want to know more information, that's our Skills Bootcamp's email address. Drop us an email and we could send you over more information or arrange a call to go through in detail exactly how you could register and what the next steps are. That is it from myself. Has anyone got any questions?
Thank you, Farah. We haven't got any questions.
Sorry, Sarah.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Anne.
Hello.
I forgot to put my hand up. Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay.
Sorry about my camera being off today. Yes, I have a quick question. Yeah, it sounds absolutely great. I like that you can support those who are interested in childminding with their business plans. Does the Skill Bootcamp offer any further support, as in doing your books, doing your tax returns, those kind of skills associated with becoming self-employed?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, so we've inputted a business startup module. So one of our tutors from the business team, they go through like tax, setting up how to register as self-employed, goes through like the books and things. But obviously when you've started, we won't be able to support once you've got going. But hopefully in the bootcamp, we can give you all the knowledge and skills and links, you know, resources to be able to know exactly what you need to do to register and what you need to do with your books. I did actually sit in on the session last week because we've got a course running at the moment with 10 on the course. And they have mentioned that they have found it really useful to have that module included. So we will carry on putting that in. But we do cover everything that you might need to know about registering as self-employed and, like you say, tax, NI, yeah, doing things there, if that helps.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
No, brilliant. Thank you. And I think, you know, when I was sharing the slides about becoming a childminder and all the things you need to do, I think it's really useful that this boot camp is there to kind of guide people with all of those steps and help them along the way. So really good opportunity. And the next one is in January, correct?
Yeah, it starts on the 15th. January. Yeah, okay. And then it is going to be normally Wednesdays, so we do 6 till 8 p.m. As Farah said, you may have like an extra day, just depending on how the sessions fall. So there might be an additional Tuesday one week, but the bog standard is Wednesday 6 till 8 online on Teams. Then there's a Saturday, the 1st of Feb, to do your first aid. That's face to face. And then the next Saturday is the 29th of March, which we do mental health as quite a key sort of portion as well, because obviously everything going on with mental health in young people. So we make that quite a key one too. But yeah, it's Wednesdays 6 till 8, if not on Teams.
Really interesting. Thank you both for your
No problem.
input. Thank you. And next up, we have Julie from Realise. Again, another skills boot camp. And you see the theme here that actually, you know, these are skill shortages. These are, you know, jobs that are needed. And Julie's company are running a skills boot camp to help people get into early years. So over to you, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Julie Jeffrey. I am a delivery manager for Realise. Realise is, as it says, one of the largest independent training providers for early years. We do deliver other qualifications as well within our organisation, but early years has always been sort of the biggest provision that we have delivered. We're currently graded as good, a good provider with Ofsted, which took part last year. Boot camps are very new. They started in February, so we do expect another Ofsted visit quite soon with regards to the boot camp provision, but we're very confident what we were hopefully going to do really well with that. And we have been delivering early years within Realise and other names as it's changed over the time for over 3 decades. So the staff that we have working for us are extremely experienced. So, as you probably all know, there is a massive gap at the moment within the childcare provision, in that we've got lots of free childcare places that are being introduced by the government. But unfortunately, with regards to the number of staff to look after the children, there is a massive gap. And this is what the boot camp is trying to do, is to alleviate that gap. Now, for level 3, the level 3 qualification in early years educator, it usually takes 18 months to become fully qualified in order to, take up that post. What we're trying to do with the boot camps is actually reduce that 18 months down to 12 months, and this is how we do it. So first of all, we have designed a boot camp that is totally around what the employers are looking for within early years and matches the early years educator at level 3. What we're doing is that we are delivering a boot camp that is 6 weeks in total, and it's online. It's then from the comfort of the learner's own home, which has gone down extremely well because sometimes travel is quite a difficulty for some. The boot camp in those 6 weeks, they're expected to attend 4 days a week, which is Monday to Thursday, 2.5 hours a day. So they have 3 times to choose from. They can do 9:30 until 12, 12:30 until 3 o'clock, or 6 till 8:30 in the evening. So that gives them the opportunity to drop off any children that they might have off at school and pick them up in the evening as well. They'll be expected to complete 24 modules in total as part of their course. Now, it says on the slide here that the completion is within 12 weeks. We do have the opportunity to extend it to 12 weeks if they're going on the evening course, but if it's a day course that they're doing, then it is a 6-week course. We are also able to deliver on not just online, but also face-to-face in certain areas. So we have some courses that are taking place in Hounslow and Feltham in the sort of West London area. But if we do have any increases in cohorts where they're asking for face-to-face, that's something that we could definitely look into. All of our delivery is roll on, roll off as far as online and face-to-face is concerned. So we have a new course that starts every single Monday. So they're never having to wait very long before they go on to the next course. Once they've completed all 6 weeks, what we then do is we put them onto a paediatric first aid course, which is for 1 day face-to-face close to where they live, and we pay for that. We will also then apply for their enhanced DBS check as well. And again, we will then pay for that. And then we start to look for a vacancy for them within a 5-mile radius of where they live. What we also provide as well is career coaching throughout the entire boot camp. So from the day that they start with us, they will have somebody that will be able to guide them through the employability part. So helping them with their CV, looking at the nurseries that they're applying for to make sure that they have all the information about what they're offering. They'll also help them with interview techniques and what they should expect when they are interviewed within those settings. And we then actually go out there and help them obtain interviews, as I say, within a 5-mile radius of where they live. Now, that coaching will continue not just through the 6 weeks boot camp, but it does actually continue with them 6 months after they've finished the boot camp, so that we can get them a guaranteed interview within a setting. Just going to move to my next slide. So what we have here is a gentleman that has actually taken the course with us. And we are actually looking for more males as well within the early years setting, because we have a real shortage of males, but we are now seeing more and more males that are applying for the boot camp. So we're hoping to see that that will come to fruition. And he's put here, without the course, I would have not have had the knowledge and experience to demonstrate an understanding of the subjects like child development, safeguarding, health and safety. So what we do want to do is to make sure that when people do go for their interviews, that they have the fundamental skills and knowledge that they've learned within those 6 weeks to be able to be confident to be successful within that role. So I'm just going to do a very quick recap of what we offer. So the slide is a bit busy, I do apologise, but I'll just run through what's on there. So what will happen as far as the application is concerned, we would need to do an eligibility check. So the learner needs to be 19 plus. They need to have lived within the UK in the last 3 years and not currently working in an early years setting or taking an early years qualification. So we will have a telephone interview with them. We will go through, obviously, the information, advice and guidance to make sure that they are the right learner on the right course. We will then obviously carry out the eligibility checks, and they will need to complete an initial assessment with us in maths and English, where they need to be working towards level 1. Once we've done that, we will then obviously enrol them, and we will talk about what start date they are on. So it will be a Monday, and then we'll roll for 6 weeks after that. And then we will obviously give them a timetable of where their courses are, where it's going to be, and also what we're going to be teaching them. So the learning process, as mentioned, there are 24 modules in total that they'll be covering with us. And this just details some of the real sort of big subjects that they're going to be covering, like roles and responsibilities, teamwork, communication, safeguarding, prevent, EYFS regulations, and so on. The next part after that is the assessment. So they will be collecting and showcasing around 10 pieces of evidence, including a safeguarding presentation, which will go into a portfolio. This portfolio of evidence basically adds up to 6 months worth of evidence to go to their new provider, and that's the bit really that is the 6 month worth of apprenticeship qualification that will help them towards the next part, where they will then complete the last 12 months with their setting and their provider. And as mentioned, we are with them every step of the way to get them into that job. So the career coach will follow their path and help them secure the job. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions at all?
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Nothing is, again, there aren't any questions in the chat, but really clear and really helpful to understand how that all works. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pop in the chat just our email address, which is our referral email address.
Yes,
if anybody
brilliant.
Needs that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you. And also with us today is Kate from YMCA Central, who also run a skills boot camp for early years. So Kate will tell us a little bit about their provision and how that maybe differs from Realise's provision. So welcome, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you everybody for joining. As Sarah mentioned, we do offer a very similar provision to Julie, so I won't belabor all those details, but I will give you an introduction to us and a few of the details that might help you inform a decision on what provision might be right for you. So let me share 1 second. Sorry. Never place ball at the right time. Okay, did that work? Can everybody see?
Yeah, we've got
Okay,
those.
thank you. Okay, so just a quick introduction. My name is Kate Newton. I am head of partnerships at Central YMCA, and we are a national training provider with over 40 years of experience in training, education and training very specifically, and with a proven track record in early years in Hertfordshire, even more specifically. So, like Realize, we have that is one of our larger provisions, and we've got a team of tutors and learner support that surrounds our learners in each of our provisions. But as a whole, Central YMCA, our mission is to break down barriers to create more and better access to education and training opportunities so everybody can reach their full potential. Julie mentioned it, we do too. We always want to make sure we have our learners in the right place at the right time for the right reasons. We're never going to force any of those fits. So just a little bit about our skills bootcamp. Again, it very similar to Realize. We positioned it to ladder up to the level 3, and it is aimed at kind of carving off a little time to that level 3 qualification. The timing of our delivery varies slightly. We are running our provisions on Wednesday, Fridays, and Mondays, very specifically, starting January 8th, the 10th, and the 13th. We too are doing a 12-week course, and it is delivered 1 hour each week, 1 5-hour session each week from 9:30 to 2:30. That said, one thing to mention on our team, we do have a very flexible approach. While we have those hours in place, our teams surround our learners with additional help, support, time as and when needed above and beyond those kind of hours of delivery. Our sessions are live and online as well, very specifically to maintain some flexibility with folks' schedules and work styles. And it is a group training in very small cohorts, so you get that a little bit more of that one-on-one attention from our tutors and leaders. Our tutors have been delivering, like I said, for decades now, 40 plus years, and they do have lived experience. Each and every one of them has lived experience in the early years sector. So again, all very similar, just some nuances into the delivery times and options that we have at hand. But again, this will be shared following if anybody needs it to hand. Wanted to share, a little bit more on the course curriculum and what that looks like over the 12 weeks, a week-by-week view and how each of those weeks ladder into that early years educator level 3 standard and the duties. There is an introduction, health and well-being is covered from the child's perspective, equality and inclusion we cover throughout the course, positive behavior and your role as a key person in modeling this, the EYFSE that's already been mentioned, and as well, we too have a week dedicated to getting ready for those employer engagements. And we do that very specifically by inviting some others in our network, employers and other recruitment agencies in to help support that focus. We also move on to, in week 7, the prime areas and specific areas within EYFS, collaboration, working with our colleagues, other professionals and parents alike, child development in that introduction from conception to 7 years, theories of practice, as well as safeguarding. So again, just a glimpse of what is covered in this intensive course, but overstating that we do take into consideration all of our learners' needs and aptitudes, so we tailor to that end from there. And then just to overstate again what this means for you, this is a no-fee government-funded training that gives you the skills, knowledge, and more importantly, the confidence to enter, whether you're entering the earlier setting or looking to upskill within, if that be the case, if you were in a volunteer position or an office position. And again, we've got a team of learner support surrounding each of the learners on course and beyond. That guaranteed interview is completely part of this program in any skills boot camp. So like Realize, we stay with our learners until they are into their next steps. And just a few things to think about when you're looking at these courses, some progression pathways. It is an opportunity to move into that level 3 apprenticeship, early years educator, apprenticeship, and assistant child minding, nannies, nursery assistants, as well as hospital play specialists. So there's a few different pathways, never forcing a fit. We're always there at that latter end of those, the latter stages of this program to make sure folks have the support they need to go the direction they want. So I think that concludes. I've got my name and email here. If anybody has any further questions, we'd be happy to help. And again, if we're not the right partner for you, we will be very honest and tell you and you know, make sure that you get in front of Realize and or Oakland's to make sure you're in the right place, again, for the right reasons. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And I think, you know, it's really important to reiterate that the point of these boot camps is to give people the skills and that qualification to then make that next step into a job. And that is the point of them. They are there to get you into an employment within that field. Someone has asked, Zoe has asked, can people apply for this course despite not having any qualifications in childcare? And I believe the answer is yes. But if yeah, is that right?
That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah, I've just
absolutely.
answered that. That's correct.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Julie. Sorry, I didn't see your message in the chat. And that's the point. You know, these are for people who have an interest in that field. Maybe don't have any prior qualifications. These are there to equip you with everything you need to then apply for that job, hopefully with that guaranteed interview at the end. Obviously, Zoe says the level 3 can seem a bit intimidating, but the support is there, and the purpose of them is to get you from unqualified to qualified and in a job in a relatively short space of time. So all of the extra care around that is there to help people. So well done. Yes, excellent. Thank you both. So that's right. Oh, Kate, sorry.
Just to overstate, as you know, you don't need the qualification. This is also built for those who are looking for a career change very specifically. So something to keep in mind. We make sure, again, you're in the right place for the right reasons.
Thank you. And so we are, I think, running ahead of schedule. And next up, we have Mark. Now, Mark is with us today. Mark has a wraparound childcare organisation called Brains and Games, and he'll tell us more about that and any opportunities that are available within his organisation for you. So thank you, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're all okay there with sharing. It looks like it.
Yep, you can see the slides, yeah?
We can, yes, indeed. Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. Just before I kind of just go through the actual slides, I think just a quick reflection on some of the earlier speakers. So I think Raphael was commenting on some of the requirements for child minding programs. I think Sarah touched on some things as well. Largely speaking, you know, we are complying with the same laws and we are complying with the same regulations. So our primary driver in wraparound care is the early years. I don't want to go into too much detail about the other two parts of the childcare register here, but just really to endorse that the requirements such as the DBS checks, the criminal background checks for the DBS, The knowledge of the early years has been dropped over the years that I've been doing this. So we don't actually have to have qualified level 2 or level 3 staff in at the moment to meet the requirements of the early years and the other parts of the childcare register. We do, however, believe in our ethos that, you know, we want to adopt best practice or better than best practice wherever possible. So just to touch on some of the points that the 2 boot camps have presented, you know, we are exploring boot camps for our staff. None of our staff are currently qualified at level 2 or level 3 or above, and that includes me. So just to give you some assurance and start talking through the slides, I started Brains and Games, well, nearly 8 years ago. I've been through 3 Ofsted inspections in that time, and we passed all of them. So I have a working knowledge of the early years, and that is sufficient to satisfy the Ofsted inspectors that we are a good provision. Okay, so when I say good, again, I don't want to get into the complexities of how we're graded and how we're judged, but we no longer fall into the same classifications as schools and nurseries. We're unable to meet good or outstanding now. Our general pass grade, if you like, is just something very unadventurous, and it's called met. Okay, so if we're meeting all the requirements, we will be met. Okay, so as I said, I started this in January 2017. No childcare background at all. My background is very much in business. I've worked pretty much most of my career in financial services. So I took the choice to step out of that arena. It wasn't somebody else's choice. I'd always harbored some ambition, I guess, to run my own business. I looked at many, many different things. And then I came across primary school age childcare. Okay. So what is Brains and Games? Brains and Games currently, so the technical term is we're in the out of school sector. Okay, that's how the Department for Education define us. And I'll just talk briefly in a second on the next slide about what that really means. But the key thing here is if we are Ofsted registered out of school provision, it means that we are licensed to take and operate wraparound childcare. Okay. Okay, so what is wraparound childcare? So there's a lot of jargon in this sector. I've already spoken about out of school. I've spoken about wraparound. The wraparound childcare is the generic term I think that every parent seems to understand. So we wrap around the end of the school day. So that could be breakfast clubs, that could be after school clubs. It's usually primary school age children, so age 4 to 11. And again, I could talk details and talk around different age groups, but let's keep it simple for this presentation. Nurseries do have wraparound services as well, so you may come across that piece of jargon in nursery sense as well. And it can also generally extend into holiday programs. So again, anything that is not during the core school time could be seen to be wraparound childcare. So what's the history? Why have wraparound childcare? So I mean, the traditional sense is that it's to support working parents and carers. So the parents can work an extended working day and not only be constrained to working during school hours. Why does that happen? In a strategic sense, if you want to see us as a strategic sector within the bigger part of the economy, it means that more people can work. Generally, the concept was to allow women to go back to work. I think all these programs started about 25 years ago. And ultimately, the more people there are in the workforce, the more income tax is generated, the higher the earnings are in the local community. And ultimately, what that really translates into is wealthier families, wealthier community, wealthier nation, that kind of philosophy. So what do we do in wraparound childcare? Well, so when the kids are with us, what do we actually do in that time? Well, we try and make sure the children have fun. So there's a little smiley there. We have a good program and the children come along and generally have fun. The key thing, of course, to remember is this isn't school. This is the children's social time. So we make the most of that and we respect that it's their social time. We try not to be too regimented, but obviously things like behaviour generally need to be in line with the school standards. What kind of fun? There's loads of different examples there. You know, we can follow playwork principles, we can follow kind of activity-led sports clubs, but we try to blend all that thing into one so that the children have a different experience with us. What are the alternatives to wraparound childcare? Well, I mean, obviously we touched upon childminding in this session. We've touched, I think nannies were mentioned earlier as well. And one of our biggest competitors, if you like, in certainly in the area we're in Cheshunt, is grandparents and extended families. So there's a lot of children that go to extended family after school, and you know, we'll all have different opinions on whether that's good or bad for the children. So we try to, when the children are with us, we try to diversify everything out so that the children have got multiple choices in terms of what activities they're pursuing when they're with us. So why am I doing all this stuff? Why am I here today? Why am I running a childcare business? I'm determined to make a difference. I feel that the sector is heavily underinvested. I think 3 years ago, our membership organisation was defining our sector as the forgotten sector. I think there's been quite a big movement by the membership organisation to get representation with the Department for Education, and that seems to be working at the moment. They seem to be having quite a big influence on government policy. That means that some of these little mini crises that I mentioned here, like skills, knowledge, to some extent funding to take the risk away from setting up new opportunities, is starting to emerge. The boot camps are obviously a way of looking to close down the skills gap, and there is government funding out there for the out of school sector to start or extend childcare in the out of school sector. So overall, you know, I think, you know, my time is well invested in a deserving sector to give it more profile and offer more rewards to many people. So just a few summary benefits of wraparound childcare. The children have fun. We do see ourselves as being able to build confidence in children, allow them to make friends. We've got a wonderful space, a big open space at the school we operate in. What that means is the children, there's a lot of flats in our area. So, you know, children during COVID were cooped up in flats, for example. When we were allowed to reopen, we noticed a lot of children were coming to us after school just to get out. You know, we've got a secure space. Parents weren't necessarily taking them to parks and all those kind of places. So, you know, we believe that we've got a very secure environment that we can actually allow children to run free within certain boundaries. But they do make new friends and they do blend across the age groups, which typically within the school day they wouldn't. That really does help to build a child's confidence. And ultimately, you know, the key benefit, I suppose, is that the economy, the local economy, the national economies are benefiting from having wraparound childcare. So what next? This is my final slide. Do you want to make a difference? Does anybody want to talk to me about the experiences that we offer our children? As an example, we've offered secondary school students for the first time in June this year. We've offered them work experience. We're looking at taking other volunteers in. We've just done a small program with the DWP. We're looking at all sorts of things to try and, first of all, to broaden, you know, our perspective on the local community. But secondly, just to make sure that if people want to sample or work taste, they can get in touch with me, they can get in touch with us, and then we can see if we can offer something in line with any voluntary program that's out there. At some point in the future, we hope to grow. We hope that there is opportunities for us in neighbouring primary schools. And with that ambition, we would hope that once we've established maybe some firmer contacts in the community, we can maybe go back to people that have volunteered for us and maybe offer them a role in the future version of Brains and Games. So that's the end of my slides, Sarah.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. And I think Anne has her hand up. She has a question. Anne.
Hello, Anne.
Hi, Mark. Lovely seeing you again. Yeah, this is a question for Mark, and then maybe I can extend it to the panel if that's okay. But I love, Mark, when you mentioned the importance of the supportive sector in helping the local economy grow. I think that's something that gets missed a lot with early years education, the importance that all the work that you guys are doing to help get people into this sector is going to benefit the local economy as well. So yeah, that was really a key point, I thought. Many of you have mentioned sort of the levels needed to qualifications like level 1 DBS. If someone is thinking of going into sector, changing career, what are sort of the key skills and personal attributes needed? What kind of person would it attract to who's thinking about going into this sector, especially those ones which probably we forget about, that are needed, the skills and personal attributes that are needed to work in this sector and to grow in it?
I can have a go answering that, and Sarah, if I
yes,
can
please.
answer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's no one single answer to that, Anne. I think, obviously I'm working with your program. We've just had the first person come through and do a we're not quite at the work tasting stage, but we've had somebody in to run, we tried not to call it an interview, for example, so like a meet and greet. The sector is lacking the ideal skill sets. So level 2, level 3 and above is where we used to be 8 years ago. The early years requirements were, even for out of school or wraparound care, were that we must have a level 3 on site at all times. That has gone away. So what we're doing, and there's multiple reasons for that. There's not one single reason why the skills have drained away from all parts of the childcare sector. What we're doing is we're looking at people that can offer the right attributes. They've got the right aptitude to work with children, and they can demonstrate that they are willing to come in and learn, and they've got the right values. Okay, so when you see our job description, and I think I've sent my job description over to Kate. We're looking really, we're giving external providers the kind of mandate, I suppose, that we're looking for maybe 70 to 80% fit on our core requirements. That's the way that I've always worked in my former life, because there is, in my world, the worlds that I've worked in before, where I've had to recruit in financial services and very bespoke parts of financial services, so it's not just banking or whatever. You have to have, with hybrid roles, you have to have, you're never going to get a square peg in a square hole. So, we try to look for aptitude, we try to look for values. And if we've got those two key things that we feel that we can judge quite well, then we are prepared to give people opportunities.
Fantastic. Yeah, emphasizing attributes rather than qualifications. So yeah.
Yes.
That's
great.
We
can give people the qualifications. We can't give people aptitude and values.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you for that answer, Mark. And I think, Julie, have you got something to add? Oh, you're on mute, Julie.
I knew I'd do that eventually. So yeah, just to add to that, obviously when they start the early years educator qualification, it's all about the knowledge, skills and behaviours that they're going to be learning as part of that qualification. And I think when we carry out information, advice and guidance, that's made crystal clear to them as well, that these are the areas that they will be focusing on and learning as part of that qualification. I think, as Mark mentioned, they need to have the want to work within that sector and understand the real sort of fundamental requirements for that job. I mean, we had somebody that had gone through the boot camp and then when they started to look for the role, had decided actually that childcare wasn't for them because they didn't particularly like children. So that, you are always going to get somebody that just will go along for the ride, but at the end of the day isn't going to be the right fit. So we decided then that actually we need to ask that person to look for a completely different sector to work in.
I guess
but
I guess
think
it helps, doesn't it, Julie?
Yes,
Like
absolutely,
children.
to enjoy working with and being with children. But I think as long as you do have good IAG in place, and they know from the very start exactly the expectations of that particular sector, that's what we really need to try and do. And as everybody's said, we're all trying to get the right person on the right qualification. That's so if it's not their fit, we shouldn't push them into that and look for something else for them. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and I think you know,
Thanks, Julie.
we're happy, you know, at Brains and Games, we're, as long as we're not overwhelmed, we are happy to put people through like a 1 or 2 day kind of taster session, anybody from any background, as long as they can demonstrate that they're safe and they're going to work with us on site. You know, the key thing when from a voluntary point of view, but we'd be happy to give people samplers just to make sure that they are, you know, they want to pursue any of the things that we've been talking about.
Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, just for us, obviously ours is slightly different. So agree with everything that's been mentioned. And then on top of that, for ours, it would be obviously working on their own, from their own home as well, with there being a childminder, and sort of a passion for home learning rather than being in that setting. So for the childminder, they will be working in their own home with these individuals, whether it be during the school day or whether it be after school. One of the probably the biggest differences between Oakland's and the other two training providers is ours is a non-accredited program, so it's equivalent to level 3, but you don't get a level 3 in early years educator program. So you get a Oakland's college certificate that outlines that you have completed a skills bootcamp in childminding. You will get official qualifications for your first aid, obviously your Ofsted, your food safety, etc. But everything else has been created from scratch so that we can really mold it to what the industry needs for childminders. So that's probably the big difference there. You won't get a accredited level 3 in childminding. You will get knowledge and skills, and you'll get learning to the equivalent of level 3.
Brilliant, thank you. That's some really good information there. I think, thank you, Anne, for that question. I think it's also important that people understand that actually having the skills to work with children, young people, etc., is important, as well as you know, a qualification which might actually be secondary to that. So I suppose in terms of looking at all of the early years, because we're going to move on a little bit now into schools, I think there's some key points to take away from that. I think Mark, with his wraparound organisation, I mean, if it's something that you're not sure about at this point, if possibly you're thinking about working with children, working in early years, but still not quite sure, then maybe getting in contact with Mark or a wraparound organisation like Mark's that's willing to offer you a work taster. That might be the first step, and do a little bit of volunteering. And then obviously off the back of that, you could then go into doing a skills boot camp. But like
Sarah?
Mark said, yes, Anne?
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Just because it tallies up with what you've just said about work taster, your work experience. I just wondered if I know Mark's answer because I've spoken to him about it, but generally with little work experiences, work tasters, work trials, it varies from childcare provider to childcare provider. How does it stand with DBSs for those who don't want to do volunteering, who just want to go in, do a 2-3 day work taster to see if this, you know, before taking on a skill boot camp, before taking on anything with a bit more sort of responsibility, is this the thing for them? How does it sit with DBSs? Because it really does change from childcare provider to childcare provider. So I don't know if anyone in the panel can answer that. That'd be great.
Yeah. Mark, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. Look, it's relatively straightforward, Anne. I think it's you know, what we do is we sort of go through I suppose the 3 or 4 of the steps that we would do if we were onboarding any new recruit. So we get a standard declaration signed, which all staff have to do on an annual basis anyway, to say they understand the DBS process. So we will get that signed, even though we're not pursuing a DBS during the voluntary process. We would get some other key questions answered as well, probably like, you know, next of kin kind contacts, that kind of stuff. What we then have to do to make sure we're partnering with the school correctly is we raise a risk assessment to say that that member of staff has not got, that volunteer, apologies, hasn't got a DBS. And then that work taster, that voluntary session, whatever we want to call it, would then be shadowed by a qualified member of staff. So someone who does have a DBS. We're not going to be sitting on people's shoulders, but we are going to be, you know, a few meters away so that we're in eyes and ears. If there was an allegation or a disclosure by a child to the volunteer, we would have somebody within earshot and eyeshot to make sure that that was being captured within our normal practice.
Thank you. And that's what I was going to say.
Thank
It's
you.
I think about the person being supervised and having someone around whilst they're doing that. But I think, you know, and like I was saying, if you're not sure, then maybe offering to volunteer, offering to do a work taster is the first step for you. And then potentially looking at the skills bootcamp if you want the qualification, but also bearing in mind you do not necessarily have to be qualified to work in the early years sector. So I think it's important to make that point as well. Emily, do you have something else to
I was
add?
just going to say we do volunteer DBSs, so you could look at that. You could ask whether the organisation might be able to do a volunteer DBS. It comes back pretty quickly. I've done one for one of our tutors that was assisting the main tutor this week, and it's come back within 3 days. So it might be worth just asking about volunteer DBSs. You don't have to pay, and it doesn't charge us either. The one thing for our work experience, because again, slightly different going into someone's home, we didn't approach that angle this time round. We would have done the volunteer DBS so they could go into someone else's childminder home. What we've done for this time, which worked quite well, is we've asked them to go and do work experience at the family centres. So they do like drop-in centres and things. So the individuals have gone and sort of integrated and networked with the family centres that were local to them. And that's worked really well as well. So you've probably got a few options there, Anne, if that helps.
That's great, Emily. Yeah, I hadn't heard of volunteering DBS. I can't believe you get them back in 3 days. So that's marvellous.
Yeah, well,
So,
this particular one came back quick. It depends how quickly your volunteer
what else is going
puts
on?
all the stuff in. But yeah, it can come back pretty quickly. And then for us, that allows them to come onto site with us being, you know, having 16 to 18-year-olds. So it might be worth looking at that too.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No worries.
Brilliant. Thank you all. And thank you, Mark, for your contribution as well. And now we are going to move on towards looking at other roles that might be within schools and education. I think, you know, people think, oh, working in a school, you know, teacher, teaching assistant, but a lot more opportunities. And we're going to hear from Sarah from Teaching Hearts, which I must say is the go-to website in Hertfordshire for jobs in education. So Sarah, over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah. Right, I'm just going to share presentation. Okay, let's have a look. Can you see that okay? Yeah, fab. Okay, so just a bit of an overview. If you don't know who Teaching Hearts are, we're a dedicated recruitment platform for over 700 schools and sites and trusts. We are a not-for-profit organisation. Teaching Hearts is the sister company of HFL Education, who again support schools. So any money that we do make gets put straight back into our schools as our our co-owners are some Hertfordshire schools and Herts County Council. So I feel we're a great organisation, and we're really trying to support people to come into schools and support everyone there. So just a bit of an overview here of Hertfordshire and what that looks like in the different areas of how many schools we've got. So you can see from here, Hertfordshire, Stevenage has 27 primary schools. It gives you an idea of what's available, and it's a really good tool actually to see which locations you'd be willing to travel to if you started looking for work in a school. So we have last year we advertised over 10,000 jobs. These are the main job types that we advertise, and what they look like if we were to break them down is, so our professional and support roles, this is sort of an overview of what that looks like. So you've got from the governors to school business managers, admin support roles, obviously your TAs. You've also got your midday supervisors as well that go in over lunchtime and cover that lunchtime period. You've got after school provision as well, and your premises and cleaning staff. So you've got your caretaker roles there as well. So a huge wide variety of jobs. They can be full-time, part-time, majority will be term time as well. And we do say anything, even though you haven't worked necessarily in the education sector, there are transferable skills, particularly within the professional support roles, that you can use in this sort of sector. So it's well worth having a look at job descriptions. If you do think, oh, I wouldn't mind looking at a caretaker position, really having a look at those job descriptions and seeing if you have got those transferable skills and if it's something that really marries up with what you're interested in. So it's well worth having a look at those. Again, for early years as a breakdown, these are the sort of roles that you would expect to see that are available. And again, look at those transferable skills again to see if they marry up to what you're looking for. Obviously, the most obvious one is your teaching roles. What we would say, if you are interested in teaching and you don't have that qualification, have a look on our careers advice section on Teaching Herts. There are now many ways. It's not as straightforward as it used to be. There are different pathways in now. There's different support systems in place. We've got 2 trusts that can support in development there. So well worth having a look. We've got loads of information on our careers advice section on the website as well. So what it looks like when you come onto our website, you've got the main search area. We do say January through to April is our busiest period for recruitment. So, it's going to be quietening down now, but new year, new start, might be worth having a look and seeing what's available. With the search bar, you can literally click on the green magnifying glass and it will take you to all of the jobs that are in Hertfordshire. Or you can whittle it down and you'll see under the box underneath on the left hand side, you can actually really draw in and see what you want to search for. So you've got like your admin roles, you've got your TA roles. You can really break that down and filter it. So like I say, there's over 10,000 jobs that were advertised last year, and they are so varied. We would suggest research the area, get an understanding of the school, because it's not just about bums on seats coming into a school. You've got to make sure that that particular school is right for you and vice versa. So we always say go and visit the school, because a lot of them like you to go and visit and have a show round, get a feel for it and see if it's the right fit for you. We'd say research and have a look at case studies by staff. We've also got that on our website where teachers talk about their experiences within schools and get a better understanding of what's expected in the different roles. And we'd also say set up a job alert, because if you register with us, then you can filter job alerts. So if there is anything that you're interested in, like those admin roles, they will come directly to you, and you don't have to keep revisiting the website to try and find those roles. So you can also do it by area. So if you know you just want to look at Stevenage area or Hitchin, you can filter those as well. And also we've got a one-time application form, so you don't need to keep reapplying, but I'll show you that in a second. So this is what it looks like once you click on the toolbox, and you can have a look and see what jobs are available. You'll see on the left-hand side that there are filters that you can add. So you can do it by hours if you think you want to do part-time, mornings only, or you want to just do it on a temporary basis. You can filter all of that on the left-hand side. Or again, you could just look at all of the jobs and see what's available. So then if I take you to what our one-time application form looks like, this is what you'll see. And the green boxes are just, they're all broken down for you. And you just need to work your way through every single green box, making sure that any gaps of employment, that you even put those in there, just mention those, because schools do want to see that as their safer recruitment process, and add as much information as you can to this. Once you've saved it, it's done. You don't need to keep reapplying and doing things. You literally, it's a click of a button. If you see there's 5 jobs out there that suit you, you can literally click and apply. You don't have to keep filling out this form. So it is really, really handy for that. And then for this section, you also get support. Our website isn't just a jobs board. It is support for getting into schools and settings. So we also offer guidance for application forms or any other support. It's all on there. So use it as a really handy tool for anything, really, anything within the education sector. It's a really fab website. So you can also, we've got a QR code that you can scan. Equally, you can just go onto the website, which is www.teachinghearts.com. It's myself and Frankie who look after the website. So if you need to message us, we're available. That's all our email address on there and our contact numbers, but it is also on the website as well. So I hope that helps as a whistle-stop guide to Teaching Hearts.
Thank you, Sarah. That was great. I think it was really important what you said about going and looking around schools. Having worked in schools previously, I think every school is very different. The culture of schools can be very different. So I think it's important to really go and see if that is, you know, that fits with your values. And like we were talking about earlier with values, that fits
absolutely.
with your values and you're going to be happy at that school. It's a two-way thing. So thank you. And also, I was just going to ask, are you still doing job fairs? Because I know previously you've run job fairs. I'm just wondering, are you still doing them? Is there any planned?
We are reviewing it at the moment. Not going to go forward. We might do it online as a webinar, but at the moment we're going into other settings. We might do, like last year we went into schools and did certain areas within Hertfordshire. That might happen again, but we're just trying to plan everything at the moment. So I'd say keep an eye on the website, because we do post on there, and our social medias as well. Our social media, we're on there quite a bit. But yeah, we will try and get to other recruitment fairs that aren't just ours.
Yes, and please keep attending the Step2Skills
We love our
inclusive job fairs.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, so please come along to those. You're always very welcome. But again, you know, if you are thinking about working with young people, you are thinking about potentially going and working in schools, there are courses. There are Oakland's run a teaching assistant course. There are courses available through Step2Skills. We do introduction to teaching assistant if that's something that people are interested in. There are lots and lots of opportunities out there One of the benefits, obviously, with working in a school environment is the hours maybe, and it works with your own family and your own childcare situation. Obviously, term time only roles are available, so therefore you still have the holidays with your children. So lots of benefits to that. But I think most important thing again, and it comes back to, is those skills. You know, what are your transferable skills and how can you apply those? Whether you've worked in another role before and this is a career change, or whether you haven't worked for a long time, what skills do you have and how do they apply to working in early years, childcare, schools, young people, etc. So yeah, thank you everyone. I don't think we have any other questions in the chat at the moment. If anyone has anything else to add, then please feel free to do so. But thank you all for sharing the amazing opportunities that you have within your organisations and across Hertfordshire. So thank you all for coming today and sharing that.
Thank you, Sarah.
No
Thank you. It was
worries.
really
Thank you.
insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. The recording will be out in the next couple of days, along with any slides that we have from today. So Sarah, if you want to send me your slides, I can get those sent out, and Kate as well. I think I have everyone else's. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.